I I enjoyed last season for a number of reasons. In that we had a fantastic start. The pre-season was very good. Um, we brought in a number of new players. Approached everything as professional as we could. We got the benefits of that because we had a great run up until October and November, and it was very, very surprising, not just for me but for the other teams in the league, our spectators, players themselves. The club was on a complete high. I and always those sorts of runs always come to an end, and you kind of think, well, what would happen when it does end? How quickly do you get back into that form? I think it came to an end for us because we picked up a few injuries. We also ended up with a few players losing form, and in a way we didn't have the capacity to replace some of the players who lost form or picked up injuries, so therefore we kind of struggled to regain that form, which then became a slump that we couldn't handle. I wanted to really bring a few more players in, which didn't quite work. And then we found out more about the players that we brought in for the new players we brought in the season couldn't quite step up to the mark, so therefore we struggled in terms of some of our performances. I didn't really enjoy the Christmas period, or just after Christmas, where we missed a few fixtures. Some training sessions didn't quite work as well, and then we struggled then to get back onto the type of form that we wanted to. What does happen then is that other clubs bypass you, their other clubs' form becomes better, and you look at the points tally that you've got and you find it difficult then to see how you can actually win the league or get into a high position in the league. So you start to change your end of season ideals about where you want to end up, and you then start to plan differently. 3 quarters into the season, then we started to look and thinking about, well, what would we be like next season? Let's see if we can finish off the season with some good results and set ourselves up to operate the season afterwards. I think in the end we managed to do that, and our points tally at the end of the season was a good one, given how poorly we'd been in the middle third. We finished off the season winning some good games. We actually had a very good game against the league winners and beat them at Platt Lane. We spoiled a party, so to say. Massive well done to Martin and the lads for doing that, and it was an enjoyable evening. They brought over 100 and odd spectators expecting to win. They brought the champagne, they put it on ice. We held up the party. They went away very disappointed, and won the league on the Saturday. That was against Hynesford. That set us up to understand that we're still a very good side, still a very good outfit. Weren't going to roll over for anybody, and winning those games at the end of the season really finished off the season in a way that I was very happy with. The lads were very upbeat about waiting for next season, and I'm satisfied. Okay, yeah. In terms of next season, we want to build. We encourage players, and we're inviting players to come and train with us. We have some pre-season 5-a-side sessions that start this week in June that will run for the next 3 or 4 weeks. We have had players write to us and give us their profiles, and we invited them along with players. We talk to other players as well and ask them if they've got friends who would suit our setup, who are good enough. There are 1 or 2 on their way down, and we will have some fun, because the lads get very, very bored after about 3 or 4 weeks of not playing any football. They're still watching the England games and Champions League games, and they still want to play. I think it's a lot different than when it was in my day, probably 20 years ago, when you had to have a 6-week break. Nowadays, lads have 2 weeks and they want to play again. So we're accommodating and allowing lads to come and train with us. So it's almost like a pre-season session that we're having, and it's open. We're inviting old players as well as former players and young players, and we'll get together and we'll talk through what we're going to be doing for the season to start, pre-season training, The games that we've got lined up are looking quite interesting, and it'll be good because we'll be, back in football kit again. We've got a few. We always have a lot of characters in the changing room, and as one perhaps might leave, another one comes in, or another one develops. We have a few. Some people have nicknames. I think a lot of us have nicknames. I've picked up the nickname Morpheus. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I blame somebody for that. We have a lad in the change room who's been with us quite a long time and doesn't even like his name being mentioned. I don't think he likes his name being on the team sheet, actually, like called Bob Semahan. And he doesn't train a lot, Bob. I mean, he's a fitness instructor, as far as I know. I don't know a hell of a lot about him. I do know his name and his surname. I know he's left-footed, he's 6 foot, and he's a very good footballer. Outside of football, he's a quiet man, gets on with his job. Some of the lads believe he does some Ukrainian dancing. I'm not sure. I've seen his footwork and it's very, very good, so there's always that possibility. But he also sometimes arrives at the ground a little bit late on match day, so Bob, try and be a bit better next time. But he sometimes disappears very quickly after games, and you could be doing a talk after the game and suddenly you realise he's actually left the changing room without my permission. But that's quite hilarious because he does it and he's 6'2". I don't know how he gets out that quickly, but sometimes he's gone. Other characters that we have a young lad called Sam, the goalkeeper, came through from the reserve side. Lovely lad, lives about 3 yards away from the training ground from Platt Lane, and he's always late. Makes a mistake of always talking to us in the changing room about his mum, and originally when I used to contact him, he used to give me his mum's telephone number, so I was always texting his mum asking about him, and one day I asked him why I would always end up speaking to his mum. That's because I've given you my mum's telephone number. I says, can I not have your telephone number, Sam? And he says to me, well, I'm not sure whether I can let you have it, Brownie, which is a little bit worrying. I do now have his phone number, so I'm not now speaking to his mother, and the lads in the change room are quite happy with that because I don't really want to be talking to people's parents. I'd like to talk direct to players. Other than that, we have some lads who have nice hairdos, and Mike Robertson's of this world thinks he's a bit of a Gareth Bale, Ronaldo type lookalike with the boots and the style, all that type of thing. We've hopefully ground that out of him now because he was being fined week in, week out for wearing little white socks instead of the club training socks. That's cost him a fortune, so maybe we've ground that out of him. A couple of lads who train really, really well. We've got a sprinter in our ranks, a lad called Caelan Baxter, who thinks he's also a bit of an actor. Always in the changing room with his cap turned round, his earphones in, all that type of thing. And he does some sprinting with Sale Harriers, so when he does the sprinting with our lads, he leaves them sort of in the dust, miles behind. He's a bit of he looks a little bit like that sprinter, the kid who does the 100 metres, a Jamaican lad. I always forget his name. I think he's called Bolt or something like that. And Caelan, he's probably not as quick as him, but I think he's close. We've got a few other characters, and I'll mention them to you another time. At our recent sportsman's dinner, Bernard Halford made a statement during the dinner to the audience about the club wanting to expand, and it's a big ambition of ours to expand. We previously, back in the day, had 5, 6, football teams. It was all about accommodating lads at a football level, at a social level, at a more serious level. We now want to expand in different ways. Yes, on the football pitch, with opportunities for lads to play football with us right through from a young age up to a senior age, and in a way as well as people can deliver. If there were players who were with us who had ambitions and were good enough to go into the professional or semi-professional world, that would be allowed. We could accommodate that. But what we want to do is have a bigger club whereby we can accommodate people's talents, their ambitions. We also want to be able to have a larger structure whereby we're running a bigger organisation in terms of youth teams, in terms of a veteran side, which is one of my personal ambitions for us to have a veteran side. Also, what we want to do is to realise our ambitions at Platt Lane itself. The complex, there are changes happening at Platt Lane that we're absolutely aware of. There's no secret about the fact that Manchester City are perhaps moving their youth structure over to Eastlands, which leaves some opportunity for us to expand at the Platt Lane complex. We're not sure what the details are of how that might happen, but we want to be ready to move when the opportunities arise. I don't think there's anything wrong with us looking at the types of opportunities there may be. So the call really is, if you want to come and work with us, if you've got ideas, if there are opportunities that you think you can help us realise, be they on the pitch or in the support to what happens on the pitch, come and have a talk to us, and we'll have that discussion about what you can do for Manchester Gregorians.